Sports journalist and sportsman Sam Stone is a regular on Pompey Sound, and we're very pleased about that. Sam, good day to you. Luton, the result obviously was a disappointment, but to what extent were you surprised by the performance?
Well, I don't think it was ever going to be a game for the purist, if you like, and I think it's one where you look at it as a wider context. Pompey's away form overall this season hasn't been good enough. I mean, which is still 9 defeats out of 10 away from home. So for us to go and win away in the Championship is a rare occurrence. And playing against a team who were just desperate, absolutely desperate for 3 points, and they hadn't won in 14 games. The law of averages suggested they were going to win at one point. And I mean, I said to my dad after the game, I think it was a 0-0 game that ended up 1-0. They just had a bit more in the first half, but there really wasn't a lot in it. It was a terrible game of football, if we're being brutally honest. And then Pompey had a golden chance to equalise through Conor Ogilvie, which, in his good form recently, you'd kind of back him to put that away. But it was not a good game of football. I think that didn't help between, the fact that Luton was so desperate for 3 points, and midway through the second half, you could see that they kind of gave up that attacking threat, if you like. They just wanted to see the game out. It just descended into that type of game. So, yeah, one to forget and one to move on quickly from.
Yeah, we're singing from the same hymn sheet there, Sam, because we had it down as a goalless draw that we lost. Yeah. OK, let's look at the injury crisis then, shall we? Would you continue with Marlon Pack at the centre of defence?
I probably would. At home, I definitely would. I think there's a couple of things on this. I didn't walk out of that game on Saturday thinking, oh my God, Marlon Pack cost us again. I don't think he had a bad game. I think when you're looking at overall performances, I don't think he was our worst player. I think there was fives across the board. There was a couple of threes and fours in there, but he certainly wasn't one of them. That's just my take on it. It feels like every time we lose a game, Marlon Pack's been at the back, the automatic assumption is just for everyone to pile onto him. The other thing on Marlon Pack as well, there's two more things I just wanted to add. At home, we won a lot of games at home with him at centre half. The Coventry game, Bristol City game, Swansea game, Preston at home. We won all those games with Marlon Pack as centre half. So there's, we're still capable of winning games. And actually, I think at certain times he was a big part in that, the way he kind of played out from the back. Of course, he has limitations. The other thing I want to mention of Marlon Pack is that he's not injured. He's pretty robust and he can be consistent. And I think that's another thing that people forget. He can fill in, and he's rarely, not at full peak fitness. He can make it through Championship games, irrespective of his age. So I'd like to see him start. Well, I don't really think they have any options elsewhere to do that. So he will start against Leeds, and he probably will start against Plymouth. But just the pylon I find hard to get on board with. I think there was other reasons why we didn't win and why we haven't won when he's been playing at the back.
Do you have a view on this story that Neil Allen has given flesh to? He's on top of it. There are up to 10 free agent centre halves available that we could bring in just as ultra emergency cover.
Yeah, well, it worked well for us last season with Lee Evans coming in midfield, and it was one of those that just got us over the line. It's a really tough one. I did read Neil's article suggesting that these players are out of contract and they're not with clubs. They're not, hopefully they'll be keeping themselves in shape, but that match fitness you can only get that if you're playing in the Championship. And so these players we bring in, they're going to take a couple of weeks at least to get up to speed. Are they the right player? There's a lot of things to take into consideration, but clearly we're one more injury at centre half for being in a little bit of trouble. Obviously, I did have a look just before our call. I mean, Conor Shaughnessy, we got injured on the 11th of February. So that was nearly, this is the 3.5 weeks now. So he's nearly 4 weeks, and we were told he's 6 weeks from when it happened. So I mean, he could be coming back in the next 3 or 4 weeks, which is positive. And I know there's an international break as well in March, which is going to come at a really good time, because that's another 2 weeks, if you like, for players to come back. So that's a big positive. But it's with the free agent one, it's got to be the right player. He's got to be fit, and he's got to come in and make an impact. And at the moment, I feel like Mousinho is probably confident in our ability to get results at home. And I know people are going to come back and say, we got to win more than we got to pick up results all over at home and away. But given the position we're in and the points, we've got 8 points clear of the relegation zone. For me, it's 2 home wins, and that'll be us nearly safe. Yeah. So that's what we've got to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you play it if you were John Mousinho against Leeds? Would you be canny and, take them down to the wire, or would you throw the kitchen sink at them?
Well, I put a post out on social media last night, or might have been the day before. It's got a mixed reception. I think John Mousinho's focus should just be entirely on the Plymouth game, and that's me. That is my honest opinion. I think when anyone who's watched Leeds this season, and I've watched quite a bit of them because they're always on Sky, so they're far and away the best team in the league. They've got a wage bill that absolutely dwarfs ours. They're going to be a Premier League team next season. They score goals from all over the pitch. What I'm trying to get at is that they're a much better team than anyone else in this league, and especially the teams at the bottom. Even if we had our full strength team, getting a result would be even getting a point would be a really good result. We don't even have that luxury. For me, if we beat Plymouth at home, Plymouth won't be able to overtake us. That's one team out of the equation, and it would almost certainly make life extremely tough for Plymouth to stay up. That's where the focus should be. And I would even go as far as saying, I know people are going to go say this is a bit mad, but Josh Murphy, I know people go, he could have got injured. He can get injured in any game, but it's about limiting risk. And for me, the Leeds game, I just don't see it as a game that it's a free hit, if you like. But with that in mind, and a Plymouth game just 3 days after, it's a massive game at home, and it's one that if we win, I think we stay up. So I'm probably going to get a few raised eyebrows at that, but I would be looking to make changes. And we've got those attacking changes, especially that we've got a bit of depth up there now that could come in. And I'm not saying Josh Murphy doesn't play, but I'm saying Josh Murphy plays half an hour, or Josh Murphy plays a half, or Josh Murphy plays 60 minutes. And I'm saying Josh Murphy because of how influential he is. And, you can throw Colby Bishop in there as well. That's just a suggestion, and that's my view on it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I can see how it was a little bit controversial. And I know you are not a red top journalist. Everything that you do is on the straight and narrow. So let me pin you down a little bit further on that. If you're prepared to, who would you rest? Would you rest Colby and give Yengi a start, for example?
Well, yeah. Well, this is the thing. So we've got Yengi, Mark Omani, both. I mean, Omani was excellent at Oxford. He's probably deserving of a start. That's definitely an option, and I would not be surprised if that happens. I mean, Colby Bishop's played pretty much every game since he's come back in. So Yengi or Omani. And as I mentioned with Josh Murphy, we've got the likes of Gordon, Blair that could potentially be rotated in. Al Sheesh as well. He could play out there, and you could maybe bring another player into the middle. There's plenty of options in midfield. We're looking at Freddie Potts was on the bench at the weekend, so there's plenty of even Christian Sadie. I thought Christian Sadie came on. He looked into he made. It gave something for Luton to think about that was a little bit different to what we've got. So, and I'm convinced that. I mean, Sadie won a penalty against Leeds at the start of the season. So there's lots of options for Moose to consider, and just to shake it up a little bit. And I only say, and I get that the likes of Murphy and Bishop could get injured in any game. I do get that, but the start of a 3-game week. And the Plymouth and Preston games are winnable. You just feel like limiting the risk. And for we've just seen Rob Atkinson, Callum Lang, Hayden Matthews all ruled out for a pretty long period of time. That for me has come after we've had a lot of football, and as Mousinho's mentioned, the pitches are heavy, and I just think we've got to limit risk, and I just don't see a better game to do it than against the champions elect who are by far and away the best team in this league and destined to play in the Premier League next year.
Yeah, and just let me try one other name at you, because he started against Leeds, and although they scored 3, One was from a centre-half and the other two were from midfielders. So Towler actually has a pretty good record against Leeds.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's Marlon Pack or Riley Towler, and I there's been a lot of there's been a lot of debate around this, and it's difficult to kind of put your finger on it with why Towler isn't starting ahead of Pack. But I think for me, Mousinho does watch these players every single week in training. He knows what they're capable of. I think Marlon Pack, that leadership is something that is potentially why he's getting the nod at the minute. Riley Towler hasn't put a foot wrong. I don't think he's put a foot wrong since he's played this season. But it's just that element of leadership at the back, and Marlon Pack does have that, and that's probably why he'll start. But it's one more injury at centre half, and then that will be the option in there. But Riley Towler will come in and start. I guess the other option as well that's been kind of discussed a little bit is Conor Ogilvie going into left centre half and then bringing Bramall in left back, which is an option because Ogilvie's been. I must admit, I think Conor Ogilvie's been our best player in since the turn of the year. I think, obviously Josh Murphy's been excellent as well, but Conor Ogilvie, the contribution he gives has been remarkable, and he's also as well. I'm loving how he's getting in the box, and for goal scoring.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's something that we'll watch. Obviously, everyone will watch the Leeds game on Sunday. Watch their two fullbacks, Firpo and Bogle. They pretty much pass the ball off, and then they just get in the box. It's a really interesting way of playing, and I think there's something that Moose has been looking at and trying to feed that into Ogilvie's game. So there are options. It's just getting a little bit nip and tuck with this injury situation. As I mentioned, I think there's an international break coming up, which I believe is at the end of March, which could come at a really, really good time, just because of how the schedule has been since the turn of the year and the way that pitches are at the moment. I feel like that international break could just be massive, just to regroup, get a few players nearer to being fit, and then really attack those last 5 or 6 games.
And finally, you've been consistent with us on Pompey Sound about not predicting that Pompey are going to lose. I think a line of yours was, if I thought they were going to lose, I wouldn't turn up. Not sure if I believe that, but do you want to have a go at the Leeds game?
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about this, that the glimmer of hope and positivity is that I haven't seen a team come to Fratton Park this season. I'm talking about beyond the kind of Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland games. Even when Sunderland won at Fratton Park and West Brom won earlier in the season, Pompey played well in those games, and actually we kind of matched those teams for most. They caught us out on the break while we were actually playing quite well. I haven't seen a team come to Fratton Park and play us and pass us off the pitch. And that's what Leeds are going to try and do. They're going to come here and try and play like every other team has done in the last 3 months. And no team has been successful doing it. I mean, the only one, obviously Millwall won, but they played in a very different way. I just can't see Leeds coming on Sunday and playing in a way where they're going to sit back and try and counter-attack us. I just cannot envisage them doing that. So if they come here and play, there are going to be chances for our press to work. And I don't think Fratton Park's a very different ground to any other ground in the Championship. And for me, that does give us a slight glimmer of hope, and the form at home has been good. So if all the stars aligned, we'll go for a 1-1 draw, but that's me being really, really positive, and hoping some players have a really good game. But as I say, I wouldn't be against a few changes being made with the Plymouth game in mind.
Sam, thank you. As always, great to get your insights.
Nice one. Thanks, Tommy.